Let's get one thing straight: your life is not a group project. It's not something that's up for public approval or open for votes. This journey you're on, it's yours. And if you're spending more time worrying about what other people are doing, saying, or thinking, you're handing your power away. You're giving them the steering wheel to your life. You've got goals, dreams, maybe even a vision so big it scares you. Good, it should. But here's the catch: you won't get there if your energy is scattered. You won't get there if your eyes are always on someone else's lane. You won't get there if your mouth is moving more than your feet. The secret: focus only on yourself and stay silent. Look, I'm not saying cut everyone off and live in a cave. I'm saying turn down the noise. I'm saying the best thing you can do for your future is to get laser focused on what you need to do and stop explaining it to people who don't even get it. Too many of us are addicted to validation. We announce our plans, our goals, our dreams, and then wait for a round of applause. And when we don't get it, we shrink. We question ourselves. We hesitate. That hesitation, it's deadly. It's the thing that will kill your momentum faster than any failure ever could. You don't need validation. You need execution. You need to wake up and work. You need to be so focused, so obsessed with your growth that people wonder what happened to you. Let them wonder. Let them whisper. While they talk, you build. While they doubt, you move. We live in a world where everyone wants to be seen. Everyone wants to be heard. Social media has made it so easy to believe that visibility equals success. But let me ask you this: when did talking about your goals ever get them done? When did announcing your hustle ever replace the actual hustle? Staying silent doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're working. It means you're locked in. It means you're no longer wasting time trying to convince people of who you're becoming. You're just becoming it. Focus only on yourself. That's not selfish, that's survival. That's how you grow. You don't grow by comparing your chapter 2 to someone else's chapter 20. You grow by putting your head down and doing the damn work. You grow by showing up for you every single day, especially on the days you don't feel like it, especially when no one's watching, especially when there's no applause. Some people are too busy trying to win public opinion while losing the war inside themselves. Stop performing. Stop pretending. Get real with yourself. Ask, what do I want? What am I doing to get it? And what distractions do I need to eliminate? Because here's the truth: most people aren't thinking about you the way you think they are. They're too busy thinking about themselves. So why are you wasting your time trying to impress them, please them, prove something to them? You owe yourself more than that. You owe yourself the discipline it takes to be focused. You owe yourself the silence it takes to build in peace. The most powerful people I know, they don't talk much about what they're doing. They're too busy doing it. They're out there, grinding in the dark. Not for show, not for credit, but for something deeper, something real. And that's what you need to tap into: the reason behind your effort, the why behind your silence. Let your results make the noise. Let your progress speak for itself. Let your transformation be the response to every doubter, every critic, every voice in your head telling you you're not enough. And when you feel tired, when you feel like giving up, don't scroll. Don't seek distraction. Sit with yourself. Remind yourself why you started. Remind yourself that growth doesn't always look loud. Sometimes it looks like showing up every day, saying no to things that don't serve you, and keeping your mouth shut while you do the work. Every second you spend focused on someone else is a second stolen from your own growth. Take it back. Reclaim your time, your energy, your focus. Because you've got what it takes, but only if you stop leaking your power. Make peace with being underestimated. Make peace with the silence. Because while they're watching, you're evolving. While they're gossiping, you're grinding. While they're laughing, you're leveling up. This is your reminder: you don't need to announce what you're doing. Just do it. You don't need permission to grow. Just grow. You don't need validation to chase your dreams. Just go. You've got something in you that's bigger than fear, bigger than insecurity, bigger than opinions. You've got fire. You've got grit. But you've got to choose to protect it. You've got to choose to focus. So stop explaining. Stop posting. Stop waiting for someone to cheer you on. Cheer for yourself. Bet on yourself. Be quiet, be focused, and move. The world will catch up later. We live in a world that's constantly screaming for our attention. Social media, people's opinions, trends, distractions, it's everywhere. And it's so easy to fall into the trap of watching what everyone else is doing. We scroll through highlight reels, compare our progress to someone else's peak, and then wonder why we feel behind, drained, or unmotivated. The truth is, the more time you spend watching others, the more power you're giving away. You're leaking focus. You're weakening your own drive. You're silently stepping off your own path and wandering into someone else's. The success you want, the version of you that you keep visualizing, it's not going to be built while your eyes are locked on someone else's timeline. Focus is power. And that power multiplies the moment you stop giving your attention to everything and everyone that doesn't help you grow. If you want to change your life, you have to develop tunnel vision. That doesn't mean you ignore people or become cold. It means you choose where your attention goes with discipline. It means you wake up and put yourself at the center of your own life, not in a selfish way, but in a necessary way. Because here's the hard truth. Watching other people succeed doesn't help you succeed. Talking about what others are doing doesn't move you forward. The only thing that changes your life is what you do, how you move, how you think, how you show up every single day. The most dangerous thing you can do is spend your energy tracking someone else's progress instead of building your own. There's a quote that says, "Comparison is the thief of joy." But I'd take it a step further. Comparison is the thief of momentum. It will paralyze you. It'll trick you into thinking you're not enough, or that you're too late, or that someone else already did what you wanted to do, so why bother? It creates a fog in your mind, one that makes it hard to see your own path clearly. And that fog, it delays your progress. It kills your confidence. It keeps you small. You can't afford that. You've got things to do. You've got goals that don't have time to wait until you feel ready or validated or seen. The only thing you need to do is start tuning into you. What do you want? What are your goals? What are your values? What kind of life are you trying to build, and what are you doing about it? When you focus on yourself, something incredible happens. You stop feeling overwhelmed by what everyone else is doing. You stop letting their pace pressure you. You start to move with intention. You start to find clarity. You start to hear your own voice again. That voice, the one that gets drowned out by noise and comparison, that voice knows exactly what you need. And it gets louder when you quiet everything else. So, stop watching. Stop scrolling for motivation when you should be acting on it. Stop checking to see what they're doing. It doesn't matter. Their journey is not your journey. Their timing is not your timing. Their success does not cancel out yours. This isn't a race. It's not about being first. It's about being consistent. It's about being focused. It's about being so locked in on your growth, on your mission, that you don't even notice the noise anymore. That's where the power is. That's when you become dangerous not to others, but to your own limitations. That's when the shift happens. Every minute you spend watching someone else is a minute you could be using to become someone no one saw coming. And that version of you, the one who's focused, disciplined, unbothered by outside distractions, that version of you is powerful. That version of you is going places. But you only meet them when you stop looking outward and start working inward. Focus is a choice, and you have to make it every single day. Because the distractions will never stop. The noise will always be there. But if you can master the discipline of turning your attention back to yourself, of staying in your own lane, head down, heart forward, you'll start to move. And not just move aimlessly, but move with purpose. That's when the real transformation begins. Not when the world sees it, but when you feel it. Quietly, steadily, powerfully. There's something deeply powerful about silence, something most people overlook. We live in an age where everything is broadcast. We're encouraged to speak up, share everything, document every move. But real growth, real progress doesn't usually happen in the spotlight. It happens in silence. In the moments when no one is watching, when you're not announcing what you're doing, you're just doing it. Staying silent doesn't mean doing nothing. It means doing more of what matters without the need to prove anything to anyone. It's about shifting the focus from talking to working, from explaining to executing. And it's not easy, because staying silent takes discipline. It means resisting the urge to post, to prove, to perform. It means being okay with being unseen for a while, knowing that the results will speak for themselves when the time is right. We get addicted to noise because it gives us instant validation. We say we're going to start that business, hit the gym, write that book, and the likes and encouragement roll in. It feels good, doesn't it? But here's the catch: that little hit of approval tricks your brain into thinking you've accomplished something when you haven't even started. You're still in the same place, only now you've added pressure and expectations that can make you feel stuck. When you choose silence, you remove that pressure. You free yourself from the need to meet anyone's expectations but your own. You give yourself the space to experiment, to fail quietly, to rise slowly. And in that quiet space, you build momentum. You build confidence. You build discipline. You stop talking about it, and you just start becoming it. It's tempting to share. We want people to know we're working. We want them to see the grind. But the truth is, your work is most effective when it's uninterrupted, when it's not being shaped by opinions, not being diluted by commentary, not being slowed down by the need to constantly explain yourself. Silence gives you room to focus, to listen to your own instincts, to hear your own thoughts. The ones who truly change their lives aren't the loudest in the room. They're the quiet ones. The ones who disappear for a while, who miss a few parties, who skip the chatter not because they're antisocial, but because they're building something bigger than the moment. They're choosing long-term transformation over short-term attention. They're not looking for applause, they're creating something worth applauding. It's in silence that your character is built. When no one is around to clap for you, you find out what you're really made of. When you get up early, stay up late, grind through the discomfort without broadcasting it, that's when you grow. Not when people are watching, but when it's just you, the goal, and the grind. And here's the beautiful part: silence protects you. It shields your dreams from negativity, from criticism before you're ready, from energy that doesn't align with what you're building. The fewer people who know your plans, the fewer opinions you have to dodge, the fewer doubts you have to silence, the fewer distractions you have to manage. You move in peace. You move with purpose. Let your actions do the talking. Let your results make the noise. Because when it's real, when the growth is authentic, and the work is deep, it becomes obvious. People will see it, whether you post about it or not. Success leaves a trail. You don't need to convince anyone. You just need to become undeniable. So stay silent. Not because you have nothing to say, but because your energy is better spent doing. Show up for yourself in the dark, so when the spotlight finds you, and it will, you're ready. Not because you talked about it, because you lived it, because you earned it. Silence isn't emptiness. It's presence. It's power. It's control. When you stay silent, you're not disconnected, you're deeply connected to your purpose. You're not invisible, you're just focused. And in a world addicted to noise, your silence will speak louder than anything you could ever say. Validation is a trap. It feels good in the moment. It gives you a hit of approval, a sense that you're on the right path. But the problem is, it doesn't last. And worse, it becomes addictive. When you start chasing validation, you stop chasing progress. You begin living for the reaction, not the result. You start measuring your growth based on what others say, think, or applaud, instead of what you know you're capable of. That's when things start falling apart. You don't need validation to move. You don't need it to build. You don't need it to grow. You need discipline. You need consistency. You need the ability to keep going even when no one claps, no one notices, and no one believes in you yet. The most dangerous thing about seeking validation is that it slowly teaches you to outsource your sense of worth. You become reliant on someone else's opinion to feel motivated. If they say you're doing great, you feel energized. If they stay silent or criticize you, suddenly you start second-guessing everything. That's a roller coaster you don't want to ride, because you can't control what others see, think, or feel, but you can control what you do next. Validation is cheap. It costs people nothing to like your post, to say, "Good job," to nod in agreement. But building your dream, that costs you everything: your time, your focus, your effort, your sacrifice. And those are things no amount of compliments can replace. You have to stop living for the likes and start living for the legacy. There's a hard truth that not many people will tell you. The world doesn't owe you encouragement. No one is required to believe in your vision. And waiting around for someone to cheer you on, give you permission, or recognize your effort is just another form of procrastination. It delays your growth. It gives your power away. If you want to build something real, whether it's a business, a new body, a new mindset, or a new chapter, you need to build it for you. Not to prove something. Not to impress. Not to quiet the doubters. But because it matters to you. Because you've decided it's important. Because it aligns with who you want to become. When you stop seeking validation, you free yourself. You start creating from a place of truth, not performance. You become more honest with your effort. You stop caring whether someone notices your grind and instead focus on living it fully. That kind of self-trust, that kind of deep personal integrity is rare, and it's powerful. It makes you unstoppable. Think about this. How many times have you stopped yourself from doing something because you were afraid of how it would be perceived? How often have you watered down your ambition just so you wouldn't make other people uncomfortable? That's the cost of chasing validation. It makes you shrink. It makes you small. It convinces you to play safe when you're meant to take risks. But the moment you let go of needing anyone's stamp of approval, everything changes. You start doing what feels right, not what looks right. You trust your instincts. You move differently. You become more grounded, more consistent, more dangerous in the best way possible because you're no longer controlled by outside noise. And here's something else to remember. Most people are too focused on their own lives to worry about yours. That means the validation you're waiting for, it may never come. Not because you're not good enough, but because they're too caught up in their own struggles to recognize your wins. So why wait? Why give that kind of power to anyone but you? Validation might feel like support, but it can quickly become a chain. It keeps you tethered to other people's opinions, and those opinions change. So your confidence has to be rooted in something deeper, in your vision, in your process, in your commitment to showing up whether the world sees it or not. Let this be your reminder. You don't need permission. You don't need applause. You don't need to be seen to start. What you need is to believe in yourself enough to begin, to keep going, to push through the discomfort, and to rise on your own terms. That's where real confidence comes from, not from being validated, but from being undeniable. Your journey is yours fully, completely, and unapologetically yours. It doesn't belong to your friends, your family, your followers, or your past. It's not up for a vote, and it's not a public debate. The steps you take, the lessons you learn, the battles you fight, the wins you celebrate, those are all part of a path designed uniquely for you. And the moment you truly embrace, that is the moment everything starts to shift. You were not born to follow someone else's script. You weren't meant to live a carbon copy of someone else's story. You're here to create your own. But that means you have to stop trying to fit into boxes that were never meant for you. You have to stop waiting for someone to say, yes, that's a good idea, or now's the right time. You're the one who decides that. When you understand that your journey is personal, you stop looking sideways. You stop comparing your timeline to someone else's. You stop thinking you're behind just because someone else seems ahead. Their version of success might not even align with what success looks like for you. But you won't realize that if you're constantly measuring your worth based on where others are. This is where focus comes in. Not just the ability to lock in and get things done, but the deeper kind of focus, the kind that centers your energy on your own growth, your own development, your own truth. That's when progress becomes real. Not because the outside world approves, but because you finally start listening to what you really want. You have to stop treating your life like it's a team sport. Yes, people will come and go. Some will support you, some won't. But no one can walk this path for you. No one is going to wake up and work on your dream for you. No one can replace the decisions, the discipline, the consistency required to grow. That responsibility is yours. And that's not something to fear, that's freedom. Because when you realize it's up to you, you stop wasting time. You stop waiting for the perfect moment. You stop letting the opinions of others delay your progress. You realize that you're not too late, you're not too broken, and you're not too lost. You're right on time as soon as you decide to begin. Too often, people let their journey be defined by what others expect of them. They chase careers they don't care about, stay in situations that drain them, live lives that look good on the outside, but feel empty on the inside. That's what happens when you forget your journey is your own. You start living for someone else's comfort. You start shrinking to fit into spaces that were never meant for your greatness. But when you reclaim your path, everything changes. You start asking better questions. You start making choices that align with your values instead of your fears. You stop trying to impress and start trying to build. You realize you're not here to entertain anyone. You're here to evolve. And yes, that means you'll lose people along the way. Not everyone will understand what you're doing. Some will question your decisions. Others will project their own limitations onto you. Let them. You're not responsible for their understanding. You're responsible for your progress. There is no one-size-fits-all timeline, no universal formula, no perfect plan. There's just the next right step for you. And sometimes that step won't make sense to anyone else. Sometimes it will be messy. Sometimes it'll look like failure. But if it's real, if it's aligned, if it's rooted in who you are and who you're becoming, it's exactly what you need. The more you honor your unique path, the more confident you become in walking it. You stop apologizing for not fitting in. You stop explaining your decisions to people who aren't living your life. You stop doubting your own intuition. And you start building something solid, something sustainable, something real. So own your journey. Protect it. Nurture it. Trust it. You weren't born to be a copy. You were born to create, to lead, to grow, to rise. And that process, it won't always be visible. It won't always be understood, but it will always be worth it. The real work happens when no one's watching, not when you're getting recognition, not when the lights are on, not when you're being praised. The true transformation, the deep, unshakable, personal kind, it begins in the dark, in silence, in private. That's where strength is built. That's where the foundation gets poured. That's where you develop the kind of consistency that doesn't rely on motivation, applause, or attention. That's where winners are made. You've got to be willing to work in the dark, to grind without a spotlight, to show up for yourself when nobody else does. Because if you're only doing the work when someone's watching, you're not really growing. You're performing, and performances are temporary. But real change, real strength, that lasts, and it's forged in silence. Think about it. Every person you admire, every athlete, artist, entrepreneur, or visionary became who they are because of what they did before the world noticed. The hours they spent training while everyone else was sleeping. The days they kept going even when nothing seemed to be working. The weeks they failed quietly, got back up, and tried again. That's the process no one talks about because it doesn't look glamorous. It's not sexy. There's no audience for the grind. But that's the exact reason it matters so much. People want the shine, but they don't want the shadows. They want the outcome, but not the invisible work that goes into creating it. But here's the truth. If you're not willing to work in the dark, you'll never be ready for the light. If you're not building when no one is watching, you won't have anything solid to show when they are. That's why you have to fall in love with the process, not the praise. You have to learn how to enjoy the grind, the discipline, the quiet repetition of doing the work over and over again with no guaranteed result. That's where confidence comes from. Not from what you say you'll do, but from knowing deep down that you've done the work when no one else was paying attention. You see, the light is not a destination. It's a reflection. It reflects what you built in the dark. That's why it matters so much. Because the way you show up in silence determines how strong you'll stand when the noise finally comes. And the noise will come. The opportunities will show up. The attention, the success, the breakthroughs, they'll all arrive when you're ready. But if you haven't done the quiet work, if you haven't built the habits, the mindset, the discipline, you won't be able to handle any of it. So don't rush the spotlight. Don't beg for recognition. Let your silence be the proof that you're serious. Let your consistency speak for you. Show up even when it's boring. Push through even when it's hard. Build quietly. Grow privately. Fail in peace. Get back up without an audience. That's how you become someone who doesn't just chase results, but creates them. And here's something most people miss. There's freedom in the dark. Freedom to fail without judgment. Freedom to experiment. Freedom to move at your own pace without pressure or performance. That freedom allows you to learn faster, get stronger, and stay grounded. Because when you're not focused on how you look or what others think, you get to focus entirely on getting better. That's a gift. Eventually, your work will speak. Your results will speak. You won't have to say a word, because people will see it. They'll feel it. And when that moment comes, you'll be ready not because you talked about it, but because you lived it. So if it feels like no one sees you right now, good. That means you're in the part of the story where the transformation is happening. The quiet chapter, the one no one reads out loud. And that's okay. Because when the time is right, the story will tell itself. The success will show up. The world will notice. But until then, keep working in the dark. That's where legends are made. Not everything requires a reaction. In fact, most things don't. But we're conditioned to respond, to defend, to explain ourselves the second someone questions us, doubts us, or throws shade our way. That's a trap. Because the moment you react to every bit of negativity, every little opinion, every passive-aggressive comment, you're giving your power away. You're letting the noise control your focus. And if you're serious about building something great, you cannot afford that. Silence is not weakness. It's not submission. It's not avoidance. Silence is strategy. It's strength. It's proof that you've got more important things to do than waste your energy on people who don't matter in the long run. Let them think what they want. Let them gossip, speculate, criticize. Let them talk. While they're doing that, you're building. When you stop reacting, you start conserving energy. Energy that would have gone into arguing or proving yourself can now go into creating, growing, and elevating. And over time, that builds something far more powerful than a good comeback. It builds results. And results speak for themselves. You don't need to scream. You don't need to clap back. Just show up consistently, let your work do the talking, and soon they won't have anything left to say. Here's the truth: people will doubt you. People will misunderstand you. Some will judge your silence as arrogance, weakness, or indifference. That's okay. Let them. Their interpretation is not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to keep showing up for yourself, for your goals, and for the future you're building quietly, consistently, powerfully. You have to remember that not everyone deserves a response. Not everyone is coming from a place of truth or intention. Some people just want a reaction. They want to knock you off your game. They want to see you rattle, lose focus, get emotional, or slow down. When you choose silence instead, you rob them of that control. You stay in your lane. You keep your peace. Silence is maturity. It's knowing that your growth doesn't depend on being understood by everyone. It's knowing that your vision is clearer when it's not clouded by constant validation or confrontation. You don't have to defend what you're doing when you know why you're doing it. That inner clarity, that's what sets you apart. Think about how much time you've wasted defending your choices to people who never cared to understand them in the first place. How many hours have you spent rehearsing explanations, responding to negativity, worrying about opinions that added zero value to your life? Now imagine what could have been built with that same time and energy if you had stayed silent and just kept working. That's the shift. That's the elevation. And let's be honest, sometimes the silence hurts people more than words ever could. Not because you're trying to hurt them, but because silence removes the drama. It removes the emotional payoff. It leaves them with nothing to feed on. And that's powerful. It makes people reflect. It forces them to look inward, to sit with their own thoughts, instead of dragging you into their chaos. But the most important reason to stay silent isn't about them, it's about you. You can't create in chaos. You can't grow in noise. You need peace. You need clarity. And those things only come when you learn to let go of the need to react, when you can sit with discomfort and not be ruled by it, when you can let people be wrong about you and not lose sleep over it. Not reacting is not weakness, it's choosing what's worth your time. And here's what's worth your time: your goals, your vision, your discipline, your peace. That's where your energy belongs. Not in the comments, not in the gossip, not in the drama, in the work, in the growth, in the silence. So the next time you feel that urge to explain yourself, to defend your progress, to prove your worth, pause, breathe, and remember who you're doing this for. You're not here to win arguments. You're here to win in life. And the loudest person in the room rarely wins anything meaningful. The one who stays focused, grounded, silent, and unstoppable. That's the one who rises, every time. You don't need to announce every move you make. You don't have to tell the world your next plan, your next step, or your next goal. Not because you're hiding, but because real power doesn't seek attention, it creates results. We live in a culture that glamorizes constant sharing, as if every thought, every effort, every idea needs to be put on display for validation. But here's the truth: the strongest moves are made in silence. The most powerful transformations happen behind closed doors. When you keep your progress private, you protect it. You give yourself the space to grow without pressure. You get to fall, get back up, recalibrate, shift direction without an audience. And that's a gift. Because when no one is watching, there's no performance. There's just truth. Just the work. Just the mission. And that's where you build momentum. Talking about your goals can feel good. It gives you that temporary rush, that illusion of progress. But the dopamine hit from telling people what you're going to do can actually rob you of the drive to do it. It tricks your brain into thinking you've already achieved something. But you haven't. Not yet. So stop wasting energy making announcements. Use that energy to build. When you move in silence, your actions become louder than words. People will start to notice the change in you, not because you told them, but because they see it. In your discipline, in your confidence, in your results. There's something unshakable about someone who doesn't speak on it, but just keeps showing up day after day. That kind of quiet confidence is rare, and it's powerful. The reality is, not everyone is rooting for you. Some people want access to your journey just so they can undermine it. Some will pretend to support you while secretly hoping you don't follow through. And others, without meaning to, will project their own fears and limitations onto your vision. When you share too early or too often, you open the door to opinions that can throw you off track. You have to protect your goals like they're sacred because they are. They're yours. You birthed them from your own soul, your own hunger, your own desire to become more. They don't need to be understood or approved of. They just need to be honored. Quietly, consistently. There's something powerful about walking into a room and letting your presence speak for you. No big announcements, no explanations, just results, just growth, just the kind of quiet power that doesn't need to be declared to be felt. That's the energy you want to move with. That's what makes people take notice, not because you're loud, but because you're undeniable. This doesn't mean you can't celebrate your wins. You should. But make sure they're real wins, earned, lived, embodied. Celebrate after the fact, not before. Let the journey mold you, refine you, stretch you. And while it's doing that, stay locked in. Stay grounded. Stay private. Privacy gives you freedom. Freedom to experiment. Freedom to make mistakes without judgment. Freedom to move at your own pace without comparison. That's how you build something real. Not from pressure, not from performance, but from purpose. People don't need to know what you're doing every step of the way. They'll figure it out when they see the results. Let your work be the statement. Let your success be the proof. You don't owe the world a play-by-play. You owe yourself the discipline to follow through quietly, relentlessly. There's a reason why the most successful people rarely speak about what they're doing while they're doing it. They're too focused, too in the zone, too committed to the outcome to waste time narrating the process. Be that person. The one who moves different, the one who doesn't need attention, the one who's building something so solid, so powerful, that when it's finally revealed, it shifts the room. So close your mouth, open your calendar, put your head down, do the work. And when it's time, when the foundation is solid, when the results are real, when the work has paid off, let the world see it. Until then, stay quiet, move with purpose, build in silence. Because the ones who stay silent while they rise the highest, every time.